Hey, this is a Hakawati production. My guest today is Mario Haddad, the head of distribution at Empire Entertainment, and he's also a restaurateur. Please welcome Mario Haddad.
Hi.
Hi. So you do a lot of interesting things, but let's start with the family business, which is Empire Entertainment, which just celebrated its 100th anniversary.
Correct.
It's quite a long time for the same family to own a business.
And I look pretty young for 100 years as well.
Yes, you do. And I'm impressed that you've really continued to persevere for all those years. So it's actually your grandfather that founded it,
right? So my grandfather started the business by importing a machine that would project moving images on walls. We're talking 1919, right? So it's after the First World War, and people were just trying to find new things to do. And he came across a couple of people who were visiting the Middle East, because it wasn't really Lebanon at the time either. It was still the Middle East, Lebanon and Syria, etc. And they had brought in this machine that would, project moving images on walls.
Where did they bring it from?
From the States, but they were coming in from Greece, and they didn't know what to do with it. And my grandfather saw a business opportunity, and he said, "Let's, take that from coffee shop to coffee shop, and we get paid for showing these shorts." And these are literally short movies. They were not even called movies, they were called shorts. People walking in the streets in New York or San Francisco, or somebody falling off a building, or somebody walking his dog, or, the horses at the races and stuff like that. So eventually they take that from coffee shop to coffee shop and get paid to just show these short movies on, on a wall or on a whiteboard.
People must have been amazed, right? Because they'd never seen anything like that.
Pretty new invention. Eventually, he opened his own coffee shop where, on a regular basis, they would show these shorts. And eventually that turned into a pre-cinema, because there was, the orchestra, the pianist who's accompanying whatever is happening on screen. And eventually that became the first cinema in Lebanon. Well, in the Middle East, actually.
Wow. So I have, I looked a little bit into the history. So by 1935, which is not so long after, your grandfather and his partner, Nicolas Catan, had opened 36 cinemas across the Middle East, including other countries or just Lebanon?
It was Lebanon and Syria at the time.
And Syria.
It wasn't a country. It was an area, and
And what's really crazy is that the smallest of those cinemas had 1,000 seats, right?
Because they were massive rooms where people would congregate and watch those.
Were they still shorts, or they were
No, by that time they had become movies. We're talking Gone with the Wind is 1939.
Okay.
So
yes, around those days.
It was the beginning of color as well, because it started without sound.
Yes.
Then they had the introduction of sound. Then it was color. Then it was CinemaScope, which is the format that we know today.
Yeah.
So there was an evolution as well in the formats of enjoying cinemas and movies.
So 1,000 seats is a lot. How many seats does a cinema have today?
They're getting smaller and smaller because people want to put more and more cinemas into one multiplex. Hence the term multiplex.
Yeah.
Because people want choice. So you want to go to the movies and then decide what you want to watch. Typically at the time, there was one movie being made. It's Gone with the Wind, and everybody wants to go see Gone with the Wind, and you need to put in the maximum amount of people in your cinema at one given time. So typically today, I'd say a large screen format is somewhere around 300 screens, and that's the large one. The smaller ones are 50.
300 seats?
Yeah.
That still exists? I haven't actually seen one like that.
Yeah, Cinema City in souks.
Oh, 300 seats in one space? Wow. Yeah. Okay. They were pretty swanky too. They had balconies, and it was quite an event, right?
It was it was an outing. It was a big thing to go to the movies.
Yeah, times have changed a lot.
Yeah, now it's a regular thing. You go every week.
And then also you have Netflix and this kind of on-demand stuff now.
Yeah, cinemas face so many threats. With the advent of TV, people said that's it. That's the end of cinema, because now you've got it at home. Why would you want to go out?
Right.
And then the TV, the quality wasn't that good, and it was still black and white, while they had already reached color in the cinemas, etc. So it didn't really kill it. And then video came along, and now you have the same movies at home. You wouldn't go to the movies, and that didn't kill it. And then they perfected the quality of the videos. It became, the CDV, those big CD formats, and then DVD, and then Blu-ray, and then home, the whole massive screen at home with the, surround sound, etc. And it still didn't kill cinema. And I know that, it is perceived as a threat, but I tend to believe that it's more than just the content. It's going out to the movies. It's still going out of home. It's something to do with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, with your spouse, with your family. There are emotions inside the cinema theater which you don't get at home because, laughter, for instance, is contagious. You watch a comedy at home, you laugh. But when you hear other people laughing, it makes you even laugh harder. And, same goes with a horror movie or a scary movie or something. So emotions travel from person to person, and then that is contagious. And seeing it with other people is different. So I still feel that, you want to take your girlfriend out. You snuggle, especially in a region like ours, where it's not as easy for younger generation to be seen or be allowed to go out.
Yeah, it's nice and dark in there.
It's nice and dark. You get to cuddle up, and my first dates. Well, I don't want to tell you how long ago, but we're like always in the cinema.
Yeah.
It was fun, and then you walk out and you talk and you go to have a bite, and I think it's that. That is the magic of the cinema. It's not just the content. It's not just about watching Avengers on screen.
It's the experience.
It's the experience of sharing that.
So everything was going great for Empire until the Civil War. And then they had to shut all these beautiful theaters, right?
Right. Well, most of them got destroyed.
They got destroyed.
By the war.
Yeah.
And then, we had to make other theaters in the sense that not just building them, because that takes time. It's just... Improvising by turning, theaters into cinemas, with the screens and all the
people were still going to the movies even during the Civil War?
Yeah. I grew up during the Civil War, and I remember cinemas being full because people didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
They couldn't do much. There was much less choice to do than there is today.
Plus you can crank up the volume and stop hearing all the shooting and stuff.
Well, I remember a few times shooting inside the cinema, but that's a different story.
That's lovely. I read also about a story where they actually used the casino as a
right. The casino was turned into
place.
a cinema for a period of time while we built the Espace cinemas in Zouk, because with the advent of the Civil War, then you had East and West. And people got separated, Christians and Muslims, and there was this, line which divided both ends of the city, and you couldn't reach the other side. And most of the cinemas prior to the Civil War were in what became the West Beirut, and so no access to these cinemas. So we had to build cinemas in the Christian areas, and that takes obviously time because you're building a massive infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we took over the. When I say we, it's my father and uncle at the time. They're the second generation. They took
Your
over. Your
father's name is also Mario, by the way.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
So I'm Mario Jr. So they took over the casino and turned it into a cinema until they had opened the Espace cinemas.
And just because I guess I read a little bit too much into this, but that the movies that you showed there were not new movies because maybe you weren't accessing new movies?
Correct. So you didn't have access to the new movies
during the war.
Yeah. Well, you had them at some periods, but it wasn't like
consistent.
It is today where you release day and date, what we say day and date, which is the same day everywhere in the world. At the time, you had to wait for the print to be shipped.
Yeah.
And, you didn't have access to the port, and you've got shelling, and you've got war. And so, you had to, and you couldn't keep a cinema open with no movies, people. So you had to play movies that were already playing in different parts of the country, but it's okay, then these people didn't have access to these movies anyway, because there was, again, no video, no other alternatives.
So then it was obviously like actual film. How do you get the film these days?
Today it's a digital print. At the time it was, what you probably remember as a cinema, which is a 35 millimeter reel. I don't know if you've seen Cinema Paradiso. Have you ever seen Cinema Paradiso? All right. So they used to come in these big reels, 35 millimeter, and put it on a machine that would just roll those frames at a certain amount of frame per second. Yeah. Today, everything is digital. So you get a hard disk, you plug it into
really?
a machine, and then you get a signal from the studio that allows you to download it and screen it.
So it's still a physical object.
It's still a physical object,
Yeah.
but not for long.
Yeah.
It's
changing, huh?
Yeah, the next generation is going to be, just signals beamed from, the source.
Yeah. So the war lasted, the civil war here in Lebanon lasted till 2000, more or less? I mean, until it was like completely...
No, not 2000.
Before?
1990.
90. Okay.
Yeah, so 15 years.
And then after that, you guys started rebuilding
Right.
at warp speed, right?
Not
you
really, but yeah,
no?
I mean, yeah.
So
it's still...
how many theaters do you have now?
I have no idea.
What? Seriously?
Well, about 40.
40.
Screens.
And which countries are they in? 40 screens.
Yeah.
So in one theater, you can have like 5 screens.
Yeah, and you can have 15.
15, okay.
Currently, we operate in Lebanon and Iraq, and we're currently building in Saudi.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we've got 17 multiplexes opening up within the next 5 to 6 years in Saudi.
Wow. Why is that?
Because Saudi didn't have any cinemas until, they've been banned for the last 40 years. And it's a massive
When
market.
did they lift the ban on
Last
movies?
Last year.
Oh, you hear about the women driving, but that didn't make as many headlines.
Well, it did in our world, so it was a massive,
Change.
news. Yeah, because it's going to double the size of the market for us. So we are distributors and exhibitors. So which means we own the cinemas and we distribute the movies, and we do that for the entire Arab world. So when we distribute a movie, it's not only Lebanon; it's the entire Arab world from Libya to Iran inclusive. And Saudi, given the size of the country and the purchasing power, is going to change the entire dynamic of everything we do, because it's going to double that size.
Definitely.
So the focus right now and the massive investments are all going into Saudi.
That's incredible. It's super exciting, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
So when you say you're the sole distributors, is that only for like American productions or also for international films and local, regional films?
It's a bit of everything. So we're licensees for American companies like Sony, which owns Columbia, 20th Century Fox. So these are the major studios, and these have licensees across the world, and they operate as if they're the agent of this company, of this studio, and they release those movies on their behalf. But you also have small independent producers whose movies you access through film markets like Cannes, Berlin, Toronto, etc., and where you go and buy the actual rights of that movie.
Right.
And so often, a producer only has one movie, so he's not a studio; he's just a producer. So in this case, you're not really a licensee; you're buying the rights of a specific title. And these titles can be French, Italian, anything really. So we do handle a little bit of French product because of the fact that I personally love them. There used to be an audience in Lebanon, which unfortunately...
Is that dwindling?
It's disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I hear of stories when they used to tell me that 40 years ago, they would open a new cinema with a French title. And, people would flock. Just that is the big opening of the week. Today, you struggle to get 1,000 people watch a French title, unfortunately. And it's only Lebanon. Lebanon today represents a very small margin of our turnover.
Market, yeah.
So we do handle some French. We handle local titles, and we're currently producing. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, interesting.
We handle Bollywood titles for the Gulf region, because there's a big Indian community living in the Gulf. So so a bit of everything.
So you're getting into production too?
We're getting into production, local productions.
Okay.
So we have our first title being produced. We're co-producing with Front Row, who are also fellow distributors, and Mohammed Hafzi, who's a very famous and well-respected producer in Egypt. So it's a Lebanese-Egyptian co-production. And we've bought the remake rights of an Italian movie, which was a massive success everywhere in the world and was remade in different languages, called Perfetti Sconosciuti.
Perfetti Sconosciuti.
So Perfect Strangers.
Ah, okay.
And we're in the midst of finalizing deals with the director, the cast, and everybody. So hopefully by next year we'll have our first title.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mabruk.
Yeah,
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So now you're moving in Saudi Arabia, but back in about 97, that was the time when you guys went into the UAE. Because obviously you were super successful in Lebanon, but that was back then, the world was changing and stuff. So there were a few probably significant shifts in the company, which was when you moved into other countries, including in the UAE. Tell me about how that happened.
So until then, Lebanon was the market, right? There was Lebanon and Egypt. And the rest of the Gulf practically didn't exist in terms of cinema-going audience. They didn't even have cinemas. I mean, the cinemas were still archaic and small, etc. And the Gulf states were small in terms of size of populations. But that started growing in the early 90s, mid-90s. By 1997, and with the advent of Titanic, if you remember Titanic, which was a massive hit everywhere, the movies at the time were sold on a flat basis to the Gulf region. So somebody would come and say, okay, I want to take your movie for the Gulf states, and I'm paying you X amount, flat fee. And the prices started going up, which meant there was more and more business. And when Titanic came along, it just did a fortune in the Arab world, in the Gulf states specifically. And the studio who owned the rights at the time, which were Fox, said, okay, enough of selling outright, which means flat fees. We need to start looking at this as a proper business, and you need to go open an office in Dubai so that we control the market.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So we went in around circa 97, 98. We opened our first office. We were the first distributors to open an office in the Gulf, and established ourselves over there. And, from what was a 2 million admission market per year, we're now at 20 million.
Wow.
So 20 million tickets sold annually is what the UAE alone is worth today.
20 million tickets.
It was 2 million in around 1997.
That's incredible. The population there has grown also, of course.
Right. But not by that rate.
No?
Well, no, it's not multiplied by 10.
If you say so.
Well, no, definitely not. Because, today the UAE is around 9 million people.
Yeah.
1.2 or 1.5 of these are locals, and the rest are expats.
Yeah.
So if you want to multiply by 10, that means they didn't even have any locals at the time.
Right.
So I'd presume it's doubled since. But,
it's the culture and
they've built cinema. They didn't have cinemas. So they didn't have malls. So when we opened, there were like tiny little structures being built. And now they've got the biggest, most beautiful, the brightest malls anywhere.
So that was good timing, definitely. And so now Empire is getting into also gaming, right?
Right. It's still early days.
It's still early days.
So we're looking at all kinds of parallel types of businesses which we can develop. And gaming is definitely one of them. So we've started organizing esports tournaments across the UAE and eventually moved that into Saudi. And we're looking into, developing streaming for everything that's esports. And that could be in line with cinemas or not. It's a massive world. I don't know how much you know about esports. I didn't know anything until
I'm not into
recently.
gaming at all.
Yeah. It's a massive world. It's
I know that it's huge.
It's a bigger world than the movies.
Yeah.
In terms of
definitely.
revenues
And online, I know on YouTube even, like the
amount of people who play games and spend fortunes just upgrading
and the whole
buying.
industry around it,
Yes,
even it's just
crazy.
like crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential there, I guess. Is there? Are you limited by the internet penetration in the region?
Well,
speeds of internet?
In the Gulf, the speed of the internet is fantastic.
Perfect,
I mean, it's more Lebanon that lags behind.
Well, what about the other countries like Egypt?
Well, but it's not our focus at this point.
Yeah.
We're going to start focusing at the Gulf and then develop it from there.
Okay. So it's basically you running the company now, and who else?
And my brother.
Yeah.
My father's still around. He oversees the entire thing. He's not really active on a day-to-day, not getting involved in the nitty-gritty. But so I handled all the distribution end, and my brother handles all the exhibition end. But we have a massive team. It's we're over 100 employees who are really are a part of the family, because a lot of them have been with us since before I even
Really?
joined.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been with the company 25 years, and I have a
Amazing.
lot of people I work with who've been there before me. So, my brother and I might be heading the company, but it's a big team.
It's a big team.
And it's more like a family team.
That's so nice. There's not so many of those anymore, it seems.
I mean, that's the nice part of the family business.
Yeah.
It's actually really a family business, and it really feels like a family business, and that's nice.
Yeah, I'm sure. So it sounds like you're super busy, but despite that, you also have 7 restaurants, which is crazy. That's a lot of restaurants.
Is it?
Yeah.
I keep thinking, I'd like to have more.
Really?
Well, the problem is you don't want to open restaurants in an environment like today's in Beirut, where the economy is struggling.
But you're doing it anyways.
Yeah, because it's out of passion. I have trouble resisting. I'm I see a location and I have a brilliant idea and I want to do that, and sometimes I can't resist, and sometimes I say, turn your head and forget about it and move on.
Yeah. So you have 7 restaurants.
Correct.
Do you want tell me what they are?
So Sushi Bar.
Which you just relocated, right?
Which we relocated. So Le Sushi Bar is a 21-year-old institution now.
So you were really young when, it's unheard of.
It's unheard of for restaurants that are not Lebanese, because Lebanese restaurants last forever, from generation to generation. Yes. But a restaurant that's not Lebanese, there's very few that last that long. I can name them on one hand probably.
Yeah.
And so that in itself is an achievement. But Le Sushi Bar has been, completely reinventing itself all the time, and I think that's the reason for our success. We've not slept on our laurels at any point. We've always kept evolving, and what started as a little corner sushi bar on a first floor because we couldn't afford the ground floor is now probably the toast of town. It's the nicest restaurant around. It's the most modern.
The new one downtown, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the buzz is incredible. Everyone loves it. It's all marble and wood, and it feels zen and luxurious at the same time. It's really
but
cool.
without any pretenses.
Exactly.
So it's a nice story, the whole sushi bar. So
I'll just want to tell you that what I really liked, I remember one of the times I discovered in Ashrafieh, the one that you had there, that you had the option of ordering fresh wasabi.
Right.
Which is like unheard of
in Lebanon.
Because everyone thinks it's what they're eating is wasabi, but that's actually horseradish.
Yeah, with colorant.
Yes, with colorant.
Yeah, because
they removed it from the ginger, but not from the horseradish.
Yeah. Well, no, the horseradish is white. They add green.
Why though?
So that looks like wasabi.
Yeah, because wasabi is green.
Is green.
But
the
it's
root
more
is
like
green.
it's a root vegetable, and you grate it at the table.
You grate it on shark skin, on dried shark skin.
On shark skin. Oh, wow.
So they bring this little palette, and it's got a dried
amazing.
shark skin on it, and you rub it, and you get all the fibers and juices.
That's really lovely.
Yeah, we still do that.
You still do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, not everyone knows. It's a secret.
It's not really a secret, but it's so expensive.
Yeah. How much is it again?
So we charge per portion, because when you ask for fresh wasabi, you actually have to pay for the fresh wasabi as an extra. Yes. Whereas the usual wasabi, the horseradish wasabi, is for free.
Yeah.
It's like ginger. You don't have to pay for that. So we charge $5 per portion.
Okay.
When you got the horseradish for free, some people are like, okay, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't try and force it on people.
Yeah. It's really much better though.
Yeah. I mean, it's a completely different
experience.
Yeah, because it's very umami-ish. Do you know the term umami?
I think I
come across
forgot.
it.
Yeah, I forgot.
So
what
umami is a type of flavor or sense when it comes to food. You've got sour, sweet, bitter, etc. Umami.
Oh.
You've got umami, and that's in Japanese cuisine. So they invented umami, which is very difficult to explain if you've never, because we've been brought up with bitter, sweet, salty, etc. So umami is described as this long, lingering feeling in your mouth. So it's like it stays there. So the wasabi is that. It has that umami feel because it fills all of this, all of your mouth. Whereas it
goes in your nose also. Does that
everywhere,
count? Is that part of it? You kind of feel it.
Whereas with the horseradish, it's sharper and shorter.
Okay.
And this is more lingering.
Oh, I'll pay more attention next time. Umami.
If you
can you only use it for like a Japanese cuisine?
No. But Japanese invented it because they are always searching for that umami flavor. So everything they do, the balance they try to get is in search of umami.
And how do you what do you balance it with? Umami and
no, it's reaching the umami.
I see.
That's what you want to get to. Some cultures like our culture is very soury. Our food is very sweet. We add lemon.
Lemony, yeah.
So we like sour.
Yeah.
They like umami. So it's like saying, sour, umami.
Interesting. So you have the sushi bar, you have falamanque.
Falamanque. So 3 of the falamanques.
Yeah. So what's that? What's the concept?
So falamanque is a Lebanese traditional cafe, really. It's more of a cafe than a restaurant, where they're open 24 hours and where people can come just enjoy sitting around, having a coffee, have a shisha, play backgammon or cards, or even have a bite. Just hang around. It's authentic and traditional, and it's not make believe old. It's actually old.
How so?
So all the
because you have an old one I know in Lebanon, then you have a new one by the sea here, and then you have one in Dubai also.
Right, correct. But I mean, the furniture is not make believe old. It's old that we actually bought from old homes or from used cafes, old cafes. Actually, the first falamanque we opened in Sodeko 10 years ago. We went searching for the furniture and artifacts and everything. And one of the places we went to was Egypt, and we went to the Khan el-Khalili, where you find all these old souks. And we came across this massive cafe, in Egypt called Ahwat al-Fashawi. So it's an old cafe where everything's really old. Even the jar where they were serving us tea with was rusted. I mean.
I hope you took that one home.
Yeah, well, no, we couldn't use that. But,
okay.
but we actually offered to buy the chairs and tables, and the owner of the cafe was like, they're not for sale. It
must have been like a dream.
You can sit on them and have something to drink or eat, but we're not selling you. So we actually bought them new tables and chairs so that they'd give us the old ones. So I wanted to use really old stuff. So all the furniture is actually old stuff, which is really nice.
That's pretty bold and
but you go
creative.
there and you have that feeling like it's you're sitting in your grandmother's garden somewhere.
To be honest, when I went, I had no idea it's new. I thought it was one of those places that's been around forever.
Right. See?
Yeah.
Even the flooring, it's the tiles are taken from old Lebanese homes that have been destroyed. They've managed to keep the tiling because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I bought them back and put them and used them.
Wow. Interesting. So you have falamanque, and what else?
I've got a place called Don, which is an Asian eatery. And I've got a restaurant called Mario, which is an Italian authentic little gem. And a new addition called Mariolino, which is Little Mario, which is the pizzeria of the corner.
Neighborhood.
Of the neighborhood. It's that little neighborhood pizzeria. So that's it.
Tell me about Mario.
So Mario, that's an interesting story, by the way. You're going to like that. So when I started venturing in the restaurant business, I was young. I was around 25. And I was already working with the family business. And my father wasn't too keen on me opening restaurants. He was like, well, we have a business to operate. I need you to concentrate. Why do you want to open restaurants? It's a tough business.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something on my own. I felt the need to create something because it was all nice being offered an office after I graduated and say, you sit here, you can do that, etc. I felt I didn't create anything. And the only thing I was interested in, apart from movies, because I loved movies growing up in that environment, was food. And my dad is a chef, well, not a professional chef, but he's a fin gourmet. And I remember him cooking every night. As I was younger.
You were little.
Yeah, little. And I just sneak into the kitchen, start smelling what he was cooking and wanting always to help.
What was he cooking? Was he cooking mostly
Pastas.
Lebanese food or
no, it was
Italian?
Always pasta. Every night pasta. If it's not pasta, then risotto.
You must have been happy. Kids love pasta, right?
I had a very happy childhood.
Yeah.
So I grew up loving food. My parents sent me. I invited them at the age of 11 for a whole cooked meal. So I've been cooking since I was a kid.
What did you make?
I can't remember.
You can't?
No. They tell me I invited them. I can't even remember that.
That's so cute, though.
But probably, something similar to what he used to prepare, which is pastas and risottos. And so I grew up cooking. and loving food. And so when I decided I wanted to create something on my own, the first thing that came to mind was a restaurant. Little, like, ta-da, I'd open a restaurant. And when I started thinking of what type of restaurants, I thought of sushi because I grew up in London and I enjoyed Japanese cuisine, and there were a few, but there wasn't really a sushi bar, a bar of sushi where you'd sit around the bar and they'd prepare the sushi for you.
You mean here in Lebanon? Or
So,
even in the whole Middle East, probably. I mean, no one was eating sushi back then, right?
1997.
Yeah.
So
it kind of surfaced in the 90s, right? Like, I mean,
early 2000s even, in this part of the world.
Yeah.
So I decided I want to open a restaurant. I went to the bank because I didn't have any money, and my dad was against it, so I can't ask for money.
He was against it?
Yeah, he was against the idea of me venturing into a different business.
Yeah.
We have an empire to operate, and I need you to concentrate.
Yeah, don't scatter your energy.
I mean, and what do you know about restaurants anyway?
Yeah.
So I still wanted to do it. I thought I want to do something. That little did I understand how complicated it is. Cooking at home is one thing. Opening a restaurant is a completely different ballgame.
Right.
And I thought of sushi at the time because thinking, it's raw fish. You just cut and serve. How complicated
you don't even have
can
to cook
be.
it. It's amazing.
It's simple. And, none of the ingredients were available. There were techniques that I had no idea about. Operating a restaurant is a very difficult business. Anyway, so we eventually, because the bank wouldn't give me the money and didn't have any guarantees, my dad didn't want to ask. So I started knocking on my friends' doors, my brother, etc., and managed to get the funds to open a restaurant. So we opened that restaurant. It was a massive success.
Mario.
No, Sushi Bar.
Sushi Bar. That was the first one. Yeah.
So I'm telling you the story that would lead to Mario.
Okay.
So massive success, Sushi Bar. I was making a fortune compared to what I was being paid in the family business. Because
that must have felt so good, by the way.
It felt amazing. Wow, this is a great business. I rock at it, etc. I love it. I make money. So that led to the second place, which was a Moroccan lounge. I opened because there was a concept that I knew in London that I wanted to emulate, and that was an even bigger success. And that was like a night place. After that, within a year, that was called Rai at the time. And after that, I opened a rooftop. It was the first rooftop in Lebanon called Asia, which now is called Capitol.
Ah, yes, downtown.
Yeah.
That was yours?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was... So, Sushi Bar we opened in 98. Rai was 99 and Asia was 2000. So within 3 years, I had opened three restaurants. By which time my dad was like, okay, my son excels at this business.
Yeah.
I'll support.
Okay.
So I started, because he wasn't really happy about the whole idea at the beginning. So I kept saying, one day we'll open a restaurant together, you and I, and we'll call it Mario and Mario. And you and I can cook, etc. Because, we cook at home together, etc. And that in a way was like, oh, yes, And we kept talking about that idea for years. And, I don't know how serious I really was or how serious he was, but, it was a little dream of ours to actually one day open that. And one day I come across a little house in Maram Khail that was a restaurant, but a restaurant that hadn't worked and closed down. And I thought, I think I can turn this into a little gem, and I'll do it. I'll do Mario and Mario, but I'll actually do it as a surprise. So I wouldn't tell my dad. I actually went about getting the chef, the Italian chef, setting up the restaurant, doing everything, having pictures of the entire walls are pictures of him and I cooking. So different periods of our lives, etc., etc.
So sweet.
So I did the restaurant, had the signage at the door, etc. And he's still unaware of the whole thing. And once the whole thing was ready, I told him, we often go out for dinner together, etc. So I told him, the new place opening in Maram Khail, you want to try it out? He said, sure. So we start, driving in those streets and etc. And, I'm driving slowly, so he, notices the place. And at one point he looks up and he sees the sign. He goes, stop. I said, what's going on? He goes, look at these fuckers. They stole our name.
That's such a funny story, by the way.
He actually thought that somebody had come up with an idea to open a place called Mario Mario. He at no point imagined that, it was...
Did you play along? Did you
No, so he played along. He said, stop, I want to go down. So he goes down.
He didn't say anything.
I have the whole thing on video, by the way.
You do?
Yeah. I had set up the whole thing. I had people filming us, and because I
really?
wanted, to keep that memory. And I had invited all his friends.
What do you mean you had people filming you, like at the restaurant or in the car?
Behind, at the
Next to
entrance,
the
from
entrance.
inside, everything. So he walks in,
amazing,
and he sees this little restaurant. It's a 40-seater. It's a tiny restaurant, and pictures of us on the walls. His picture.
They stole the
and
pictures
he looks at
too.
me, and he was like, "Did you know about that?" I'm like, sort of. So at that time,
funny.
I told him, it's me. This is a surprise for us, etc. And I had invited all his friends, all my parents' friends, and they, started coming in, etc. So, and the company is called Love Project.
Okay.
Every company.
Which company?
The company that owns Mario Haddad. So each restaurant is a different company.
Okay.
I've got partners in each.
I see.
In different restaurants. And so the company that owns Mario is called Love Project because it was done as a labor of love, as an ode to my dad. It's a present to the gift of
this
loving
must have
food.
been like for all the pain you caused him growing up. Like
I had to make it up.
Made it all just go away in 1 second.
So it's a lovely story.
It is a lovely story. How's that? That restaurant still open?
Yeah, it's still open, doing fantastically well.
That's really nice.
And it's a tiny restaurant. I mean, it's not a restaurant that will ever make a fortune, but it's our little toy, our little gem. I cook there all the time.
You do?
Yeah. So I became a chef later on.
Yes. So when did you become a chef?
So I don't know. I don't know if there's a time where I actually started
but you
calling
studied,
myself.
You went to chef school.
No, I didn't go
didn't.
to chef school. I went and worked with Alberico Pianati, who's one of the most important Italian chefs in the world, who was the executive chef of the Harry's Bars, and who's a family friend, and who welcomed me into his kitchen, and I trained with him in one of his restaurants in Paris.
For how long?
On and off for a long period of time, but enough for me to be able to enjoy the actual energy of a kitchen. It's all good owning a restaurant, but and cooking, but it's different. The energy of a kitchen is absolutely magical.
Okay.
Yes, I love it. There's orders coming in, people shouting, and just you have to synchronize everything, and it's lovely. I love it.
It's like a symphony.
Right? It's weird how some people love certain things and others
definitely
other things.
It's not everyone finds that passion, and it's amazing that you have.
I'm blessed in that sense. I've come across, early on, I found out what my passions were. I mean, I come back home, if I'm stressed, I have to cook, and that relaxes me. But I have to cook for people.
Oh, really?
I'd never cook for myself. Whereas my dad, he cooks for himself. Every night, he just, I'm going to prepare a pasta for myself. I'd never do that.
Why?
I don't know. I find no pleasure in the actual cooking. I find the pleasure in cooking for someone.
So when you see people eating the food that you made, this is the moment where you're like, that's great.
I mean, preparing it there's loads of pleasure in preparing it, but knowing that you're going to please.
Yeah.
I like that.
So what do you cook now? Only Italian mostly?
No, I cook everything except Lebanese.
Really?
Yeah, it's odd. I don't know. Maybe it's too close to home.
Yeah.
I love Lebanese food. It's my favorite cuisine.
Yeah.
But cooking it just doesn't sound sexy.
Yeah. And it's always like a big pot and with like lots of
No, I don't mind that.
and-
It's just that it's home cooked food in a way that, it's just not something I'm I can never see
ordinary.
myself rolling the leaves and saying, okay, I'll cook it and wait for it for 3 hours. So, no, not really.
Yeah.
I want something a bit more
That's like
sexy.
the worst possible thing you'd want to cook anyways in Lebanese cuisine.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd like
But everything in Lebanese cuisine is tedious. It's like the kusa, you have to do, or the kibbeh, you have to do it for 5 hours. And it's lovely to eat, less lovely to cook.
Like sushi, you have to roll it also.
Yeah, I don't do sushis either.
You don't?
I do Japanese cuisine, other dishes from Japanese cuisine, but not. I mean, I've rolled sushi. I had to learn doing it, but it's not. It's not real pleasure.
That's not what you do to relax when you get home at the end of the day.
That's not it. The pasta anytime.
Yeah. What else? What other cuisines?
So I do a lot of Asian, Indian, Vietnamese. Paellas, bouillabaisse.
So you were the first to do, you were kind of at the beginning of sushi in the region. What do you think now is like the next big food trend?
Peruvian has been doing incredibly well. And now everybody's talking about the return of Mexican.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of places opening up.
Yeah, but they're still the old school Mexican.
They're actually not that good. Yeah. So they're old school, and actually they're not even, I don't know what to call it, to be honest. It's not really Mexican at all.
So which ones have you tried?
Well, I'm not going to name any names.
Can you tell me any nice ones you've tried? Have you tried them all?
Locally? Listen, I lived in Texas, so I've been to Mexico.
Okay.
So maybe my expectations are a little too high.
So there's a nice one which has a Mexican owner.
Yeah.
Well, he's not really Mexican. He's from Texas but lived in Mexico, and
Mexicano? No.
No. The restaurant, no. It's called. It's not really a Mexican restaurant. It's a taco place. Taqueria del Jefe.
Yes, I know that one.
That's the nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really nice. I like it.
Well, I've only ordered from there, and I ordered like the.
I don't know. Can you order?
Yeah, it's like it's soggy by the time you get it. Plus, I don't eat meat.
It's soggy even if you eat it there. I mean, this is something you have to eat instantly.
Yeah, it's street food. Yeah, I know. I have to try it.
Try it again.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Okay, I will. So Mexican.
I'm trustworthy when it comes to choosing nice places for food.
Okay.
I don't know how much you can trust me with other things, but this you can trust me.
All right. Good to know. So Mexican, anything else? What do you think about Ethiopian food?
I know nothing about Ethiopian
Really?
food.
You should look into it. It's so good.
Really?
It's really good.
Why? What's good about it?
It's flavorful.
Okay, I want to interview
spicy.
you to change. Let's see. Yeah.
No. Well,
flavorful, spicy.
Spicy and...
I'm not big on spicy, as in hot.
Hot.
Yeah, I like spices, but not spicy. It just...
Well, everything
I
can be
lose my taste
adjusted
buds.
with this,
Yeah.
you know? But you're right. Once you put it too spicy, you don't taste the flavors anymore.
Indian cuisine. I love Indian cuisine, but not when it's too spicy.
Yeah.
Apparently, do you know where spices come from? Why? How come, some cuisines
India?
are spicy? No, but why some cuisines are spicy and others not?
Well, there's the spice root, right? Is that what
but these are spices.
Why
but
they use
hot?
spices?
Why is it hot?
I mean, it's mostly in hot climates, right? That they use hot foods. I'm trying to guess here.
No. But I mean, I don't know the exact answer to that. But I was told, and that makes sense, by an Indian chef, a friend of mine who owns a lovely Indian restaurant in London, and with whom I also worked for a while. And he told me that spicy food was introduced in poor countries by giving them to children.
Oh.
Because of the spicy, they want to drink and they bloat so they don't get hungry.
Oh, no.
And that's how initially they started
using spicy food.
Yes, and if you realize, it's always in poor countries.
It's a good trick if you want to lose weight too.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
guess.
So poor countries have spicy cuisines.
Oh, interesting.
Which is odd.
Yeah.
Mexico,
but
Africa, India.
But it's kind of addictive. Like I know a lot of people, once you start liking hot food, you're just like, you can't stop eating it.
Yeah, I have lots of friends who are like
and
that.
your tolerance just keeps going up and up.
I've got a cousin who eats some food with her spices. She's just...
Yeah.
My mother's like that.
Yeah.
She loves spice.
I'm like that too.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad though, because it's true. It kind of kills the flavor. But the thing is, especially if you're eating the same foods, like let's say Lebanese food, like all the time, it's like you need to spice it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the flavor of my Lebanese food the way it is.
The way it is. Okay, to each their own.
Thank God.
Yeah. So your dad cooked, which was kind of unusual, right? I feel like not a lot of, it's not very common. Dads, in the Middle East. I mean, even it's kind of a new phenomenon everywhere.
It's funny because all the great chefs in the world are men.
Exactly.
So
you know why? Because men are smart. They're like, if I'm going to cook, I'm going to get paid for it.
What? I find women much smarter.
I'm just kidding. But they're smart may not be the word. Enterprising, or like they're all, it's like they have this urge just to like earn a living. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, there are women chefs, but very few that are. Who become stars.
Yeah. There's very few.
Why.
There's one in France, and
there's a few. But how come?
Very few. I don't know. What's your theory?
I don't have a theory.
You're in the kitchen. You should have a
no theory.
It's a hard job, right? I mean, you're there late hours, long hours on your feet. It's physically demanding.
Women can't? Too demanding on women?
No, I'm just trying to find the reason.
I don't find the right. Maybe
they do that at home anyways, right?
Maybe men have better taste.
Oh, that's just wrong. What do you mean they have better taste?
Well, they like women, so that in itself makes them.
Yeah, but why taste. What do you mean they have better taste? Better taste.
I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a theory. There's none that makes sense because we all were brought. I mean, most of us were brought up by moms who cooked at home.
Yeah.
And yet in the kitchens of restaurants or big restaurants or famous restaurants, it's always.
But maybe because they're stuck at home in the kitchen and they can't go out and work. And I mean, historically, now that's changed, of course, but slowly. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
But you see them successful in other fields.
In other things, yeah.
I mean, for instance, in my field, for instance, of cinemas, you've got loads of women who work in that field.
Mm-hmm. But they're mostly like jobs where they've gone to school, and being a chef is not, it's changing, but there's not that like pride of the family, like, oh, you're going to be a chef. It's not like being a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, you know?
You know, this is specific to this region still. I mean, in Europe, you know,
in Europe, of course, it's
they're superstars. I mean,
but that's a recent phenomenon, probably in the last couple of decades. Yeah. Before that, it was like...
True. Here, it's still like a cook.
Yeah.
Not a chef.
Yeah.
It's a cook. And I find that in some of my restaurants. I mean, coming across somebody who is proud of being in the kitchen is not that. You know, you don't come across those very often.
So your dad was unusual in that way? That he was cooking?
Because he never did it professionally, I guess. I don't know. But
to cook at home. I mean, not a lot of dads cook.
Yeah.
And then you cook. And do your friends cook, like your guy friends? Are you like one of the few?
I'm one of the few. But I see
But it's kind of sexy, right? Like, it's sexy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure like women love this.
Trust me, they do.
Yeah, I trust you. And not just for the food. I trust you for this too.
No, it's true. I mean, you know, it is, I guess, sexy. I don't know, maybe... It must be. I mean, I've never sat on the other side, and I've never been a woman looking at a man cooking for me. But I must assume it must be nice having somebody prepare something with love for you.
Probably. Yeah, I'm guessing.
So you've never had a male friend cook for you with love?
No man has ever cooked for me.
What?
Except like in a restaurant, like.
Why? We need to change that.
Yeah. Well,
what are we going to do about it?
I'm gonna
text me and say, Mario, when are you cooking for me?
We'll see. One day. I'm putting it on my wish list.
Okay, good.
So what's your next project?
Ooh, I just opened 2 restaurants last week.
You did?
Well, yeah, I moved Sushi Bar.
Oh, Sushi Bar.
And Mariolino.
Okay, that's last week.
Ago.
I didn't realize.
2-3 weeks ago.
Amazing. So you're not ready yet to jump into the next one?
I'm not ready to jump into the next one. I would like to open something by the sea. I nearly opened a Mario Mare, which is by the sea.
Mm-hmm. When you say by the sea, you mean where?
Literally by the sea. Oh, I don't know. I haven't found a location yet.
Like literally on the beach somewhere?
Literally on the beach.
Okay.
Like, you know, you're eating while your toes
feet
are in the water.
That's nice.
You know, that's sort of like a Jamal type of place.
Yeah.
But it's not easy coming across finding some
piece of land.
Because I don't know if I want a piece of land. I want a little shack somewhere and turn that into a little gem.
Well, that sounds like a plan, and
that would be the one that would excite me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do other projects that don't excite me in the meantime.
Okay. Well, we're waiting for that one. It was great having you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I talk a lot.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Okay, good.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on hakawati.com. That's Hakawati with an I. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Yes, I will read every one of your comments. See you next time.